Have you ever wondered why you act like an idiot around that person and why you remember their favorite food better than your password?
Science says that when the heart flutters, your brain runs a different operating system without your permission.
This video isn't about romance novels, but breaking down the biological signals that reveal someone likes you, even if they're trying to play it cool.
1. The unconscious confession. If they like you, their eyes and voice will spill the beans.
If someone is attracted to you, their body switches to confession mode, even if their mouth tries to act normal. The first sign is eye contact, because looking for longer than 1 to 3 seconds means the brain is trying to download more data.
That trick of pupil dilation happens because the sympathetic nervous system opens the window to take in more images. David pretends to be aloof, trying to ignore Sarah, but David's eyes are looking as if he wants to memorize her.
Some people say dark eyes hide pupil dilation, but the real giveaway is the long, focused gaze. The feeling is like the whole room dims and the other person switches to highlight mode. But there's also the opposite. Those who tend toward avoidance. They look away because the emotion is too strong.
The avoidance type isn't showing hatred. They're afraid of revealing their vulnerability, so they avoid eye contact altogether. The practical lesson is not to rely solely on one eye contact sign. Look at the whole cluster of signals.
The second sign is the voice, because the vocal cords automatically adjust frequency to sound warmer and closer. In common language, the voice naturally softens, becoming gentler, like activating safe mode. Sarah usually speaks like thunder, but when she meets David, her voice naturally drops to an intimate tone. The mechanism lies in the bonding circuit, because unconscious attraction shifts the voice toward creating a connection. Sometimes they don't even realize they've changed their voice, but others hear it clearly. The key takeaway is that if both the eyes and the voice change, the probability that it's genuine affection increases significantly.
2. Brain lag. Too much attraction triggers the wrong alarm system.
You might think love makes you cool, but in the early stages it turns you into a klutz. The easy signs are awkwardness, stuttering, goofy smiles, and extra hand movements, like having too much energy. David is usually articulate, but meeting Sarah makes him forget the sentence he was about to say, like his brain crashed. The body at that moment feels like running a marathon, heart pounding, hands slightly shaking, because the automatic system is in overload. This happens because the brain misreads excitement as danger, activating the fight or flight mechanism. Inside your head, there's a guardian named the amygdala. When he sees strong emotions, he rings the alarm bell.
So adrenaline and cortisol flood out, skewing fine motor control, making conversations turn silly.
The interesting part is that this reaction is very genuine because it's hard to fake and hard to control. The practical lesson is that someone losing their cool around you is sometimes a sign of vulnerability, not weakness. 3. Micro-jealousy. A momentary mood switch reveals investment. There is a subtle type of jealousy, which we call micro-jealousy, the kind where they slightly frown and then immediately smile again. Sarah is speaking happily, but when David mentions a third person, Sarah abruptly falls silent for exactly 1 beat. The mechanism is the brain activating the competition detection system due to fear of losing something it considers valuable. Psychology views jealousy as a protective reaction, so even small bouts of jealousy carry information. These micros often appear in their eyes, voice tone, and level of participation in the conversation. For example, they suddenly ask a few seemingly casual questions about the person you just mentioned, but the questions are a bit too specific. It's like trying to hide your hand while playing poker, but your face gives away everything. The boundary lesson is that jealousy is only cute when it remains respectful. If it turns into control, that's a red flag.
4. VIP storage remembering small details means the brain is tagging you.
You mention a trivial thing like a snack, and the next week they bring it up, as if they have a separate file dedicated to you. The mechanism is called selective attention, meaning the brain selects and labels information as important.
There's a librarian named the hippocampus. When he sees emotion attached to data, he puts that data into the premium vault.
That's why details others overlook stick like glue, and you are surprised that they remember. David casually mentions liking crispy snacks. A few weeks later, Sarah brings up that exact food, clearly having kept it in mind. The difference between hearing and listening is that someone with feelings often collects your words like treasure. But there is an illusion trap. Some people are genuinely kind and have great memories. They remember everyone, not just you.
The cluster reading lesson is that remembering details only carries weight when combined with behavioral investment.
5. Behavioral investment. Time and reputation are real currency. The strongest sign of affection isn't in what they say, but in their time and energy. When you become a priority, they extend conversations, rearrange their schedule, or accidentally show up at just the right moment. The mechanism is behavioral investment, meaning people unconsciously dedicate resources to those they deem worthy. The brain rewards dopamine when near someone they like, so it creates a loop. If I like them, I find a way to meet them.
You will notice they reply to you faster, remember dates with you longer, and always have one more thing to say. David says he's busy, but for Sarah, he can juggle anything because his schedule has been bent.
The sober lesson is that people who like you usually don't need to perform because their schedule speaks through their behavior. Another very valuable sign is reputation protection when you are not around. If someone criticizes you, they immediately step in to correct the record, even if you don't hear it and they don't get credit. Psychology calls this protective bonding, meaning the bond is strong enough that they are willing to endure social friction. Because once they associate you with themselves, criticizing you is like criticizing their own judgment and worth. The brain activates the loyalty circuit, overriding the instinct to avoid conflict, which is why they speak up. The judging character lesson is that those who defend you when there is no audience are usually more trustworthy than grand promises.
6. Future language. Switching from if to when reveals the blueprint.
There is a subtle but huge verbal slip. They say when we instead of if. Sarah is chatting casually but blurts out plans involving David, even though nothing has been officially confirmed.
The mechanism is inclusive language, meaning the brain has already placed you on the future map, causing the wording to slip out naturally. Simply put, you have moved from a possibility to a default in their mind. This is a sign of integration, when they no longer see you as temporary, but as a long-term fixture. The highly vigilant lesson is that future talk sounds nice, but you must scrutinize the present to avoid the fantasy trap. Now for the anti-illusion section, so you don't end up talking to yourself. A single sign is not yet a contract, because politeness can also generate a few signs that look like attraction. Some people don't look you in the eye because they are the avoidant type or they are tired, not because they are being cold. Some people speak sweetly because it's their communication habit, not necessarily due to behavioral investment. Some people remember details because they are the type of person who is thoughtful toward everyone, not just you. The cluster reading lesson is that you need at least 3 signs simultaneously, and they need to be consistent over time. Here is the civilized test for verification without causing awkwardness. Test 1 is that you create one opportunity to meet privately or have a deeper conversation, and see if they initiate. Test 2 is observing whether they prioritize you consistently, or if they just flare up and fizzle out like a one-shot firework.
Test 3 is setting a small boundary and seeing if they respect it or try to shift toward control.
If they respect the boundary, that is a sign of maturity and safety. If they vaguely pull you in and then push you away, that is noise, and you have the right to withdraw.
The self-preservation lesson is that being clear doesn't ruin affection. Being clear only reveals true nature.
Simple conclusion for easy recall. In summary, love doesn't always explode like fireworks. Sometimes it whispers through biology. Look at the eyes, the voice, the awkwardness, the micro-jealousy, the detail recollection, and the investment.
Remember the cluster reading principle, because a lone sign might be politeness, but a cluster of signs is real. Use the civilized test and maintain your boundaries, because you deserve respect.
If you want to upgrade your mindset on judging character in a way that is both scientific and relatable, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so I can bring you engaging content in the next video. See you soon!